So yeah, with that we'll probably pivot on to
Absolutely.
the England game, which there's a bit to say, but I don't know if it'll be too long. We've kind of previewed it in more detail and got quite a lot right, I think, with our preview. Like,
Yeah.
there's just one team's at the races here, and it's not France.
Yeah.
Like, England have come here to win. Their that opening day performance in Dublin is gonna really, and has already really bolstered them in confidence. They've got a few key men back. We saw last year some of the limitations of their game plan without some of those men, as well as a few just tactical errors, things like the issues in the back row, things like the issues at 10 in terms of not selecting Farrell. Although in part of their big winning streak it was Ford at 10 and Farrell at 12, I think they're still just much better off deciding this now that Farrell is their elite 10, which he is, and they have stumbled upon, as you said, like a very, very good centre partnership.
Indeed, yeah.
With us drawing that into question, rightly so, because there were Ben Teo's there.
Yeah, Eddie Jones
year.
said last week that had Ben Teo been fit, he would have picked him. What a different world and game that could have been, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, no, like Tuilagi and Slade, excellent balance to that. Excellent kind of threat in Tuilagi being there. Their pack is so big and mobile anyway, with Vunipola back, with Mako putting in loads of stints. Obviously, he's actually out now for this week, which is a shame.
He's out for the tournament.
It's such a shame, because they were just like having that kind of a pack for them with a number 7. This is one of the other errors of last year fixed, even in the absence of Underhill. Tom Curry, young 20-year-old, he's getting the nod now. Something that would not have happened in years gone by.
No,
like,
indeed.
Even in Premiership clubs, out and out number 7s just don't get this. Don't get.
You would have seen James Haskell wearing the jersey in times gone by.
Yeah.
Decent player as he is, it's just, you know, he was never a natural 7, and it
or
was
Chris
just
Robshaw
Chris Robshaw.
And it's like he's not built for it.
He was
like,
always missing from them, and now they have not one but two young, bullish guys who attack the breakdown. See, a lot is being fixed. They attack very crisply. We're yet to see what they look like with you know, slower ball in attack,
is key,
getting spoiled, and then first of all, like what needs to get point needs to get made is that their offensive breakdown isn't giving teams a lot of chance at the moment.
True,
they're killing that breakdown, and
that's one of those things where it's like it feels like Eddie Jones was somewhat half right as well as half wrong in his appraisal of that. His rather cheeky appraisal last year when he was talking about. No, you're talking about rugby from 10 years ago when he was addressing that 7 issue. It's like, no, whoever's at the ruck first, they need to clean out. It's like, that's something that still is true as far as the offensive breakdown is concerned for them. Like, whoever is there is doing a good job, and it's 2 men this year as opposed to sometimes lazily 1 man last year, which was a problem, that they were getting a little bit too lazy with it, and then number 7s were having such purchase, even good, bad, any kind of number 7 against them was getting good purchase from just that. They fixed that this year, but they still needed 7 for the defensive breakdown. It was a frustrating comment, because it was just silly. It's like if he was asked about, you know, getting some crisper passers into the side, he was like, "Oh, that's crazy talk. You're talking about rugby from the 70s. Everyone has to pass." Sure,
you know, it's like, okay, everyone does have to pass, but there's natural passes of a ball, and there's also natural defensive breakdown 7s. Guys who are very natural at honing in on the turnover of the ball, slowing the ball, slowing it, doing all that work,
which is something that like compared to last year, where that was such a constant source of frustration for them, as well as improper selections in the back line, and as well as just lacking some of that game-breaking power that they have now through Tuilagi, through both Vunipolas, through the Mero Itogis who are there. There's just options to break it up, because when they're strictly reliant on just their system and their shape without those kind of talismanic players, it comes unstuck a bit for them, and then they get shook as far as confidence is concerned, because every now and then they just do need that power play that comes out of nowhere, and they need to be bludgeoning teams.
They make it low as well, and then they know what to do with it. Yeah. What they do with it is, you know, they sort of meander over to the left side and play into Johnny May.
Is over there. He's going to score tries all day if we keep kicking it to him.
We talk about Ireland playing Stockdale into the game. They do a great job of putting him in space, and whether it's with the boot or with the pass, they always...
It's been with the boot a lot this year. They have kicked a lot of ball, and they did at the weekend again. Kicked a lot of ball. Now, like, that's going to be invited by things like last week. It was the selection of Henshaw at fullback that disjointed the Irish normally very rigidly set back 3.
France saw your Henshaw and raised you a Houget.
France and 2 centres. It was 1 Houget and 2 centres.
Pinot is
a winger and a centre. Like, he's a quality rugby player. I don't have as many worries. And in fact, despite the fact that all of the tries were scored by Johnny May on that wing, I don't actually think Pinot had too bad of a game, and I thought he was deserving of his try when he got it. But it's all just rudderless from France and crazy when you think of it.
I mean, the exasperating point that you have to make out of both sides of your mouth is like the constant chopping and changing of the team is killing them.
Yeah,
because they have no cohesion. They barely know each other as a team. They can't. Everyone's learning the systems.
It feels like when you're watching the under-20s or something. And it's like these boys have been in camp for 2 weeks and now here they are, and it's just like.
The other thing is that they're still not getting the selection right amidst it all. Like the changes they make are wrong-headed. Like, and they have to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to be the team of Bastro or not.
Yeah.
Like, why is he in one week out the other? Like last week it was all speed. You know, or like the reason the rationale between the centres and the wing is that we're going to flood this area with a load of ball players and try to exploit numbers advantages in minimal space, and it can work with a bit of flair and a bit of offloading. Okay. But and then, you know, your ability to start the game at any kind of pace disintegrates with Bastro, and it only exacerbates your fitness issue and your speed issue.
Yeah, the other argument is if you're going to be picking a backline that's determined to get centres on the ball in the wing channels as much as that and move the ball as wide as quick as that all the time.
What's Bastro doing there?
Well, what's Bastro doing there, but also why are you picking the heaviest pack in the history of World Rugby to do that?
Exactly.
Like if you're going to play that kind of game, surely you're going to pick a quite light, mobile.
Yeah, and it's not like they're short of options, and that's the point, is that they have infinite options. They seem to just create this concoction of madness that doesn't work together. Like if you want to put Bastro onto your team, like I get it. I think there is a common sense approach where you have your Bastro on your team, you have your heaviest pack in the world, and then you have Camille at 10 and
you kick the ball.
And you slow the game.
He doesn't
down.
seem to be allowed to kick the ball from 10.
Yeah, and that's what he does.
Kicking 10.
And that and that's it. And it's just exactly. There doesn't seem to be any appreciation for what they'll be best at and how they can best manage the game. Like last week, you know, they started it with a gratuitous knock on, but there doesn't seem to be any sort of we'll put the ball, we'll make them exit all day, we'll put a bit of pressure on them, we'll attack their set piece, every time we get it we'll try and pin them back. England's backfield isn't necessarily stellar at covering the ball. I mean, Elliot Daly for me isn't a natural cover of the ground at fullback. Their wingers can push up a bit, and it's yet to be tested. It's one of those, like the coaching that's going on in France at the moment is sort of crazy. Oh, it's compared
it's all the more shameful given just the contrast we're having, where the quality of coaching across the board has increased to such an extent, such a ridiculous extent, that there's so much detail. It's becoming more and more akin to things like NFL as far as how far in advance plays are constructed, and you can see France, these tries that are born of like 5 phase and 7 phase sets, and then repeating, so you can have like a 30 phase try that involve 2 or 3 of these little set moves in it, and it's like France just have none of that to offer.
More alien to the French. Like as we talk about rugby in the NFL context more and more, France is the French national rugby team is the farthest thing from an NFL team. And this they're sort of a bastardized version of the All Blacks in terms of how they approach the game, but they haven't.
It's fast and loose and heads up.
Yeah, but they haven't got nearly the same professionalism, or even
they're not fit enough to execute it now against proper teams as well. They can catch them cold for 20 to 40 minutes, but then they are going to fade. And systems based teams will just grind it back out and get the win against them more often than not. Like it's 3 wins from 13 now for Brunel, and however many different 15s in amongst all that and different combinations, and it's just like
different combinations of coaches, but also just very few nuggets of positivity, all of which have just come from individual plays from players that he's likely to throw out next week as well. So it's just
you'd hope to have. There's no identity to the team. One week they play one way, and then the next they play in a completely different way, and all of it in losing efforts. And this showing in Twickenham, it was just it was one of their worst ever. One of their worst ever. They were never in the game. One ray of hope in terms talking about individuals. Dupont off the bench, excellent. Looked brilliant. I'm a big fan of that guy from Toulouse as well. Like I love his kind of combative nature as a scrummy. He's one of those little terriers who's going to work all day, and did create a lot, and he did really kind of sparked some good play towards the tail end. But England were just all over them as far as just being worlds apart as far as all of that's concerned. Coaching, some tactics, they were isolating obviously on that wing, playing Johnny May into space, winning their quick ruck ball. But then some of the stats that emerged, like Van Mahina made 4 tackles in the game. 4.
not getting through a lot of work.
What is going on there? Like, that's mental. Compare that to Makavunapola's like 20 plus. How many did he make against Ireland? It was something
like that,
like 25 or 26, something crazy. And it's just like, that's what's expected of. Well, it's not. That's probably above of what's expected of a front row forward. But that's the level that these kind of packs are getting to now. You're seeing athletes like James Ryan come in and get through a load of work over an 80-minute shift, and compare that to what's going on in France, where you just see them take plays off constantly and bafflingly, and as well as making stupid decisions that seem born of nothing else than there's no system in place and we've been playing for an hour, so I guess it's all heads up and crazy now, and fatigue based errors. It's just, there doesn't seem to be a ray of hope for them. The only, like, and it keeps coming back, but I don't foresee it in this World Cup. But it's like the argument, certainly from a lot of Irish pundits and former players, there's always that lingering memory of like, but this is France. They're one of the best teams in rugby. Surely they must be.
Still have a load of great players to choose from, and that's it. Like, you could still make a French squad that could really have a go at the World Cup and could harass some teams. But they would need to get fitter, and they would need to get organised,
and they would need to have some kind of clarity as to who's playing in the jersey as well. Because the other thing, and this was probably a good point, that's a bit of an intangible as well, but in terms of just the drive and the work, it doesn't feel like when they make mistakes, that doesn't feel like that's what's going to get them kicked out of their jersey. You know, like it feels more arbitrary than that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, and that's when you see things like Johnny May is running through. He's running just chasing a kick, and like, obviously he's quick. He's probably going to win it anyway. But he's running past 3 retreating French defenders who are all kind of half jogging, half running, whereas he's sprinting and he's getting the ball. And it's like, none of that. You don't see that from any of the other teams in the Six Nations. Not even Italy. Like, there's a lot of floundering half defensive plays from the guys just really trying to get there and not being there. You see that even from Italy. You don't see it from France. You see a very loose, laissez-faire, relaxed kind of flakiness that is very much associated with the modern iteration of the French national team.
That said, they do, especially at home, like they take it hard when they lose games. They really go into games trying to win them. They have good positive first halves, but it's just the actual the top down work isn't being done to, you know, get the guys to a position where they can actually win games. And it's gonna need a new, fresh approach to the game, probably with a fresh coach from outside France
for the first time in l'histoire. Yes, let's get out of it. Let's get some fresh eyes in here, and let's actually listen to them. Let's not be like check out Stade Francais kind of buzz where it's like, I have to clean house, I have to do all these things, and just have like really rebellion from inside the camp, and just no.
But I actually get the impression that things like, I remember hearing Paul O'Connell and Ronan O'Gara talking about it a little bit, like saying like maybe things have changed since then, but
certainly the players want to win, and players are understanding. Like, how often have Montpellier lost to Leinster in the last few years? How many stories do many of these teams have of it not going their way in big European games and stuff, and against organised killer teams that, like, it's probably presenting a baffling picture to them, just how organised they seem to be from across, and how much chat's going on. Even in the 68th minute, they have the plans and schemes that are working to beat us all the time. So yes, let's get us some of that. Let's get some cohesion, some plans, some schemes, and try and execute them, because at the moment, they just seem to got nothing.
The 2011 rebellion, like, it was born of the fact that the players themselves were rightly convinced that they could do a better job than the coach.
And they were right.
And they were right, absolutely. But like, if the players tried to rebel and do their own coaching ahead of this World Cup against the kind of teams they'll be facing,
and the kind of level that coaching's come to now since that 2011 one.
Exactly.
I don't think that would have been enough in 2015 even.
No, they would be shocked. And it would be a harrowing day of lesson learning for them, and they've had enough of them.
They have. So there should be lessons learned at this point. But that being said, and all that being said, England soldier on in very, very impressive fashion.
For sure.
I never doubted that was going to happen, but it was like it was the Johnny May show as well. It was good to see Farrell getting his try as well. I think he's good value for it. It's just been mad to see how much is being got from attacking kicks this tournament. It seems to be something that has been figured out about the shape of Northern Hemisphere defences. There's a lot of purchase to be had from isolating that and having your attacking players chase it really well.
It's one of those things. It's just like the 2015 lessons were all about flashing it wide very quickly. It's a picture Scotland present very often. So the natural evolution was to push the wingers up, have come up very fast, shut off the outside, but also have it covered by the two wingers. And then what does that do? It leaves space in the
backfield, which places a premium on value on players like your Rob Kearneys, who can cover all that space seemingly.
But even so, I mean, it's going to be, it's like if Ireland are to stick with, Ireland, just for an example, are to stick with that system going forward all the way to the World Cup, it's going to be a hell of an ask on Rob Kearney.
It is,
to continue to
surely some of these attacking kicks are going to pay dividends, as they have already against us in that game just gone against England. But also, it seems to be more of a trend than that. Like, England kicked it a lot against that obviously haphazard French back three that is always going to invite that. But even Wales have got some purchase from that as well, and there's a lot of teams are kicking a lot of ball, and that's something that we don't necessarily see a lot of in tournaments gone by. There's often more of a premium on keep ball and then kick for territory, but this is more like phase one, phase two attacking. You've got some bombs as well, for sure, but this is a different approach to that. This is like kicking your wingers into a more
Southern Hemisphere approach to kicking, a Bowden Barrett type approach, which is it's welcome. It's another threat, and it's closer to a threat that you'd be presented with in the World Cup for sure. Southern Hemisphere teams as well.
It's been good for Johnny May.
It's been very good for Johnny May.
He's been bagging meat all day.
Love Johnny May. Quality.
Really good finisher. Yeah. But so we'll finish up our Six Nations coverage on that and move on to some of the other news. Thank you very much for watching that video. If it's your first time here, please leave a like and subscribe down below, and leave a comment as well if you enjoyed it, because we enjoyed the conversation.